Your regular Forgotten TV podcast will not be seen this evening. Now stay tuned for this special presentation.
Here's the story of a lovely lady who was bringing up three very lovely girls. All of them had hair of gold, like their mother, the youngest one in curls.
It's the story of a man named Brady who was busy with three boys of his own. They were four men living all together, yet they were all alone. Till the one day when the lady met this fellow, and they knew that it was much more than a hunch, that this group must somehow form a family. That's the way we all became the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch, the Brady Bunch. That's the way we became the Brady Bunch.
It was the fall of 1969, and a new family sitcom was about to debut on ABC television. From now legendary producer and creator Sherwood Schwartz, the series would attempt something deceptively simple but culturally timely, reflecting the changing makeup of the American family. By that point, Schwartz knew sitcoms inside and out, but getting there had been a long road. Born in 1916 to a Jewish family in Passaic, New Jersey, Schwartz grew up during the Great Depression. His father owned a small chain of Brooklyn grocery stores, including Schwartz's Market. But like many families who once seemed stable, the Schwartzes were hit hard. The family went broke, and young Sherwood learned early about resilience and adaptation, ideas that would later define his work. The family, incredibly, still managed to send Schwartz to NYU, where he initially set his sights on becoming a doctor. But in the mid-1930s, the AMA enforced strict quotas, limiting the number of Jewish students admitted to medical schools. Believing an additional degree might improve his chances, he moved to Los Angeles, where his brother Al was working for Bob Hope, and he enrolled at USC.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is Bob Hope. No, not yet, Charlie. But don't leave.
While waiting for classes to begin, Schwartz convinced his brother to let him submit a few jokes for Hope's radio program. Hope used them, and shortly afterward, Schwartz received a call from Hope's agent with an open-ended offer to join the writing staff. Still with his sights set on becoming a doctor, Schwartz continued to study at USC, obtaining a master's degree in biological sciences. After realizing the barriers to medical school remained firmly in place, Schwartz took Hope's offer and wrote for the comedian for nearly 5 years before being drafted into the Army, where he wrote for the Armed Forces Radio Network. After the war, Schwartz moved through radio staples like The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet and Beulah. When television took over, he transitioned seamlessly, writing for I Married Joan and The Red Skelton Show, winning an Emmy along the way. By 1963, he had worked his way up to script supervisor on My Favorite Martian. But Schwartz didn't want to spend his career working on other people's shows. He wanted to create something of his own. His first original concept was met with some skepticism, most memorably from his longtime agent, who bluntly told him, "Sherwood, you're out of your mind. Who the hell is going to watch the same goddamn 7 people on the same goddamn island every week?" Schwartz ended up dropping that agent and continued on, undaunted, writing 31 episode ideas on a roll of butcher paper that got tacked to the wall in his office. His list of disparate character archetypes consisting of a boat skipper, his bumbling younger first mate, a millionaire couple, a professor, a glamorous movie star, and a down-home girl next door would indeed get into all sorts of silliness. But at its core was Schwartz's central theme of how can different kinds of people learn to get along when forced to be together. The first filmed pilot for Gilligan's Island was rejected by CBS. Undaunted, Schwartz re-edited the footage himself and resubmitted it just days before the network finalized its fall 1964 schedule. Audience testing showed promise, and CBS added the show at the last minute.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a mighty sailing man, the skipper brave and sure. 5 passengers set sail that day for a 3-hour tour, a 3-hour tour. The weather started getting rough.
In what would become a recurring theme, Gilligan's Island was only moderately successful during its initial 3-year run, but exploded in popularity when the show was endlessly rerun for decades, inspiring no less than 3 follow-up TV movies, and references on other sitcoms decades later, like Roseanne, shot on the same stage at CBS Studio Center. But before Gilligan's rerun ubiquity arrived, Schwartz was working on his next big idea. Now approaching the end of the 60s, the American family had changed since the days of Leave It to Beaver. Reading a Los Angeles Times article that noted that 30% of marriages now included children from previous relationships, Schwartz saw an opportunity. What if a sitcom reflected that reality? Schwartz started coming up with the concept that would eventually catch lightning in a bottle, again, and become one of the most enduring family sitcoms in television history. He wrote a half-hour pilot about a widower with 3 sons, marrying a widow with 3 daughters, and, crucially, the entire family going on the honeymoon together. He developed story ideas centered on adjustment, rivalry, insecurity, and blended family growing pains. When he pitched it to the networks, NBC said it wasn't realistic for parents to bring children on a honeymoon. ABC thought it might work better as a TV movie. Remembering his Gilligan's Island experiences, Schwartz refused to compromise and simply shelved the project. Then, in 1968, a movie changed everything.
I have 8 children.
No, don't look at me. I just got here.
And speaking of children...
We weren't speaking of children.
Oh, thank goodness.
I have 8 children.
8 children. Will you hear what I have to tell you?
What?
I have 10 children.
10?
I'm glad I have 10 children.
And I'm glad I have my 8.
And I'm glad I'm careful.
It was a typical wedding. Enemies of the bride on the right, enemies of the groom on the left.
We won't be a family. We're going to be a freak show.
People kept staring as if they thought we were crazy.
They didn't get any argument from me.
Yours, Mine, and Ours, released from United Artists in the spring of 1968. Featuring Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda as a widow with 8 children and a widower with 10 who married and combined their families, it was a massive commercial success, earning nearly $26 million at the box office, which is about $242 million today. Revisiting his sitcom pilot script, he titled it Yours and Mine, and ABC soon bit. After casting considerations that included Joyce Bulifant, Monty Margetts, and even Gene Hackman, the roles went to Florence Henderson as Mother Carol, Ann B. Davis as live-in maid Alice, and Robert Reed as Mike Brady. The pilot, The Honeymoon, aired September 26, 1969. The Brady Bunch would run for 5 seasons and 117 episodes. Though it was never a major ratings hit during its original broadcast, it became one of the most successful syndicated television shows of all time, shaping childhoods across generations. But before it could become the pop culture institution we know today, it had to survive its first season. And one Christmas episode may have been the miracle that made all the difference. When the Brady Bunch debuted in September of 1969, ABC had only ordered a 13-episode half-season. Ratings were modest, and the show was still very much finding its footing. It was airing in a television landscape crowded with edgier comedies, socially conscious dramas, and variety shows that reflected a country in cultural upheaval. A gentle sitcom about a blended family, solving problems in 22 minutes with kindness and understanding, was hardly a sure bet at the time. Then December arrived. On December 19th, 1969, 1 week before Christmas, ABC aired the 12th episode of the series, The Voice of Christmas. And quietly, without spectacle or gimmicks, it delivered exactly what the Brady Bunch did best. Not only a story containing warmth and sincerity, but a story that ended up being about belief at a moment when belief mattered. It was the Brady family's first Christmas together. 6 kids who, not long ago, were living in 2 completely separate households, now expected to share holiday traditions and expectations under one roof. That context quietly raises the stakes of everything that happens in this episode. When Carol, scheduled to sing at a church function, loses her voice just days before Christmas, it threatened the idea that this first holiday as a blended family might somehow fall apart before it ever really begins. There's an unspoken fear running through the house. What if this doesn't work? In one scene, you really see that anxiety surface with the kids. On Christmas Eve, the older children are restless and unsettled. Oldest sister Marcia, trying to sound practical but clearly overwhelmed, actually suggests they cancel Christmas altogether. That's when Alice steps in, not with comedy, but with wisdom. She gently reminds the kids that canceling Christmas wouldn't spare Mike and Carol's feelings. It would hurt them. This is their first Christmas together, and disappointing them would be far worse than an imperfect holiday. What's especially telling is that Mike overhears this conversation and silently absorbs it, expressing his approval to Alice in private. Yes, in this early episode, Alice was becoming the emotional glue holding the Brady household together. But the heart of the episode belongs to youngest sister Cindy. In a department store, standing in line to see Santa, Cindy is faced with a choice that defines the entire story. When it's her turn, she doesn't ask for toys. She doesn't ask for anything for herself. Instead, she asks Santa to give her mommy's voice back so she can sing on Christmas morning. It's a moment of pure innocence, and it's the point where faith and family intersect.
Well, my sakes. What's your name?
Cindy Brady.
My, but you are a pretty little girl. What toy would you like to have Santa bring you?
Oh, I don't want any toys.
No toys? Well, you must want something for Christmas.
I do. I want my mommy to get her voice back.
Your mommy's voice back?
Mommy's got laryngitis. Real bad.
Well, that is a shame.
And she has to sing at church on Christmas.
Well, Cindy, I don't think I can...
Oh, please, Santa. It's all I want for Christmas.
Well, you certainly are a sweet, unselfish little girl. I'm sure your mommy will get her voice back.
Oh, thank you, Santa. Daddy, Daddy!
What are you so excited about, sweetie, huh?
Santa's gonna give Mommy her voice back for Christmas.
He's what?
He promised Mommy can sing on Christmas morning.
Oh, honey, how could he do that? He's not a doctor.
He's better than a doctor. He's Santa Claus.
Mike's reaction is interesting. He later confronts the department store Santa in private angry that he would make a promise he can't possibly keep. Santa admits he did it just to make the child happy. Mike, trying to be the rational parent, sits Cindy down and gently warns her not to expect miracles. And yet, this is a Christmas episode. On Christmas morning, Carol wakes up humming, "O Come All Ye Faithful." Her voice has returned. She goes to church, dressed in white, and sings the solo that anchors the episode. And what's remarkable is that the reactions you see from the Brady kids sitting in the pews are genuine. This episode was filmed early in the series production, and many of the young actors were hearing the Broadway-trained Florence Henderson sing for the first time.
King of angels, oh come let us adore him, oh come let us adore him, oh come let us adore him, Christ the Lord.
Their awe wasn't acting, it was real. The miracle works on every level. Carol's voice comes back, the family holds together, and belief, whether in God, love, or simply in each other, as Mike would say years later, was rewarded. As noted, this episode didn't just give the Brady Bunch its only Christmas story throughout its 5-year run. It may have given the show its very future. As revealed in recent years by actors Christopher Knight and Barry Williams on their Real Brady Bros podcast, the ratings bump helped secure the rest of the season, as ABC ordered 12 more episodes to finish it out, and from there, 4 additional seasons. And 20 years later, almost to the very day, when the Bradys returned for A Very Brady Christmas, this episode would quietly echo again. In the same song, the same sense of crisis, and the same belief that somehow things were going to work out. But before diving into that 1988 reunion movie, we have a little backstory to cover.
Next, the original Brady Bunch cast is back for the wedding of the year.
Both of us getting married at the same time.
I think I better sit down.
You are sitting down.
It's double romance as the Brady girls get married.
After the Brady Bunch ended its original run in 1974, the show didn't go away, but entered the afterlife of syndication, re-airing endlessly and embedding itself deeper into American pop culture with each passing year. By the 1980s, the Bradys were probably more familiar to many viewers than network shows that were currently in production. Naturally, Paramount took notice and began looking for ways to revive the franchise. This wouldn't be the first attempt. There was The Brady Kids, an animated series that debuted in 1972. Then came The Brady Bunch Hour, a Sid and Marty Krofft-produced variety show that tried to capitalize on the 1970s variety TV boom, sparked by programs like Donnie and Marie. That experiment is now remembered mostly for its short lifespan and for introducing Fake Jan, when Jerry Reichel replaced Eve Plum. Today, it survives largely as a YouTube curiosity. But by the early 1980s, something had shifted. With reunion movies featuring casts from Father Knows Best, Peyton Place, The Addams Family, and yes, Gilligan's Island, drawing strong ratings, it seemed inevitable that audiences would want to revisit the Bradys in a narrative format, something that felt canonical, not animated or variety show adjacent. This time, it wasn't ABC. Paramount sold the idea to NBC, which in late December 1980 announced a 2-hour TV movie titled The Brady Girls Get Married. NBC executive Brandon Tartikoff famously quipped, "I'm only 31, so I never saw them the first time." Sherwood Schwartz returned as executive producer and brought son Lloyd Schwartz on as producer. Together, they co-wrote the telefilm. Originally intended to be broadcast as a 2-hour movie and listed that way in many TV guides for its February 6, 1981 air date, NBC made a last-minute decision to split it into 3 half-hour episodes. The reason? They wanted a series. The move allowed NBC to fast-track production and plug the show into the schedule on Friday nights as a replacement for Sanford. Even Schwartz admitted at the time, "The whole situation is very strange." Still, the initial project was notable for one key reason. All 6 Brady children returned. Maureen McCormick, Eve Plum, Susan Olsen, Barry Williams, Christopher Knight, and Mike Lookinland all reprised their roles. This would be the last time the entire Brady cast reunited for a revival. As we'll see, future projects would involve recasting, sometimes controversially. Behind the scenes, getting the Bradys back together for this new production was no small task. Ann B. Davis had largely stepped away from acting and came out of semi-retirement in Denver to return as Alice. Robert Reed had to go to considerable lengths to secure a leave of absence from his Broadway run in Death Trap, a commitment he took seriously and didn't easily step away from. But perhaps the most ambitious undertaking was the reconstruction of the Brady house itself. The original sets no longer existed, and rebuilding them came with a hefty price tag, approximately $200,000, a massive expense for a television production in the early 1980s. Studio bean counters were understandably uneasy about dedicating that much of the budget to the sets. Sherwood Schwartz, however, refused to compromise. As he told the press in 1981, "The house is a character. Kids remember every room in the house. I wouldn't do it without that house. The reconstruction cost $200,000, which was a huge chunk of the budget. But I said, there's no way I can put these people in a different house. They said, people move. I said, not the Bradys." That decision anchored The Brady Girls Get Married firmly to the source material. Even as the show would experiment, shall we say, sometimes unsuccessfully with tone and format, the rebuilt house served as a visual promise to viewers. This was still the Brady world they remembered. The Brady Girls Get Married catches viewers up very quickly. Mike is still an architect. Carol is now a real estate agent. Greg is a doctor. Peter is in the Air Force. Bobby and Cindy are in college, and Alice has married Sam the butcher. Jan, also now an architect, has an established relationship with Philip Covington III, a conservative, apparently older college professor, played by Ron Kuhlman, who formally asks Mike for her hand in marriage. Mike and Carol are initially surprised, expecting the older Marcia to marry first, harking back to Jan's childhood rivalry with Marcia. Meanwhile, Marcia, now a fashion designer, meets the free-spirited, mustachioed toy salesman Wally Logan, actor Jerry Hauser, in a cafeteria. After a whirlwind romance and a half-joking proposal that becomes real, Marcia also gets engaged. In classic Brady fashion, the sisters decide on a double wedding. The telefilm turned episodes mine comedy from the contrast between the two couples. Jan and Philip are buttoned-up traditionalists. Marcia and Wally are loose, bohemian, and impulsive. The wedding planning highlights those differences, eventually resulting in a blended ceremony that mixes old and new traditions. Once again, Florence Henderson even gets a musical number before the event concludes with broad slapstick humor, ending in the wedding cake smashed all over Wally. Notably, these first 3 episodes, essentially most of the original 2-hour telefilm now split across 3 weeks, feature notably higher production values than what followed. And at the time, NBC had reason to feel confident. The third airing, which featured the actual double wedding, ranked in the top 10 programs of the week, pulling in a staggering 40 audience share. On paper, the strategy so far appeared to be working. The fourth week, we get a new title screen and opening segment, heavy on background exposition, under the title, The Brady Brides.
It's a new life for two girls named Brady, who have left the bunch to make it on their own. Jan fell in love with a man named Philip, the nicest guy she'd known. In the meantime, along came Wally. He's different than Philip every way. Soon the girls are headed for a double wedding, a very special day. A house is too expensive for each couple. The only way to buy what they decide is to share the cost by moving in together. That's the way that they became the Brady Brides. The Brady Brides. The Brady Brides. That's the way they became the Brady Brides.
The shift is abrupt. Here, the show transitions into a traditional multi-camera sitcom filmed in front of a live studio audience, the only Brady production ever produced in this format. The change in look, tone, and pacing is immediate and jarring, signaling a move away from event television and into standard weekly sitcom territory. What you might find interesting is that the ongoing series concept turned out not to be new at all. Sherwood Schwartz revealed in 1981 that he had been trying to sell a show called Full House for 6 years, a concept about two young couples pooling their resources to buy and share a house. When that wasn't picked up by any network, Lloyd Schwartz suggested adapting it using the two oldest Brady girls. As Sherwood put it, the network got a built-in audience, and the creators finally got their show. On screen, the premise became The Odd Couples. Marcia and Wally were the freewheeling rock and roll bohemians. There is even a plot point about Wally sleeping in the nude, while Jan and Philip were conservative, classical music-loving traditionalists. Add in an uptight neighbor straight out of Bewitched, and the show quickly leaned into familiar, established sitcom tropes. In the very first episode, the house is literally divided down the middle with tape, an idea already worn thin by I Love Lucy, The Munsters, Happy Days, and even the Brady Bunch itself. Things didn't improve from there. The character of Harry, a wisecracking young black boy played by Keelan Love, was added in the second episode, reflecting a post-Different Strokes trend. Another episode leaned into farcical misunderstandings involving sleeping arrangements and police visits in the middle of the night. Which brings me to the most jarring element. The Brady Brides was loaded with sexual innuendo, far more than anyone expected from a franchise associated with family wholesomeness. The jokes were frequent and impossible to miss. Here are a few highlights.
This lock is a deterrent.
That's right. Like some people feel leaving the lights on is a deterrent.
Wally doesn't feel that's a deterrent at all. In fact, he kind of likes it. We're not talking about the bedroom. You weren't, but I was.
You know, finding this fish is the most exciting thing that's happened to me this week.
What about last night?
Well, yeah, the second most exciting.
Well, anyway, Marcia's best cooking is never done in the kitchen.
Wally, my mother's watching.
She'll just have to wait her turn. Sounded like the introduction to a wildlife special.
Speaking of wildlife, let's go to our rooms. And discover new and wonderful things.
Critics took notice. One columnist dryly observed that the show was peppered with just enough corny sexual innuendo to keep the pre-adolescent set giggling from beginning to end. Fred Silverman, you've gone too far. Yes, the reviews were brutal. Headlines ranged from insufferable Brady brats try new idiotic version of TV's worst idea to Brady Brides' worst show ever. After 10 episodes, the series saw its last airing. While The Brady Brides may be best remembered as a TV misfire, the show still matters in the Brady universe. It established the adult continuity of the kids. It introduced Wally Logan and Philip Covington III, both of whom would eventually return, played by the same actors. It acknowledged the ways the Brady kids had grown up and stumbled through adulthood, laying the groundwork for the far more successful and far more heartfelt return that came 7 years later. And that brings us to 1988, when America tuned in en masse for A Very Brady Christmas. By July of that year, scripts were already going out to the cast for a 2-hour Christmas telefilm, this time for CBS, giving the Bradys the rare trifecta of appearing on all 3 major broadcast networks. Production began in early August and wrapped on September 1st. Even before cameras rolled, industry chatter, mainly driven by Florence Henderson, suggested the movie might serve as a backdoor pilot for a new series, depending on how well it did. Nearly everyone was on board. All of the original Brady actors agreed to return, with the exception of one. Susan Olsen did not reprise her role as Cindy Brady. At the time, press releases stated she was unavailable because she was on her honeymoon in Jamaica. Cindy was recast with Jennifer Runyon, familiar to audiences from Charles in Charge and Ghostbusters.
8 o'clock?
I was just going to say, 8 o'clock? You are a legitimate phenomenon.
The film drops us into Mike and Carol's late 80s empty nest life. Each is secretly planning an extravagant Christmas surprise trip. Mike to Japan, Carol to Greece, until they accidentally discover they're reenacting The Gift of the Magi. Instead of travel, they decide to spend the money bringing the entire extended Brady clan home for Christmas. All 13 of them. When we reconnect with the adult Brady kids, continuity has moved forward in earnest. Greg is now an OBGYN with his own practice, married to his nurse, Nora, actress Karen Richmond. And Mike and Carol are now grandparents 3 times over, as Greg and Nora have son Kevin, played by Zachary Bostrom, and Marcia and Wally have 2 kids, Mickey, played by G.W. Lee, and Jessica, played by Jacqueline Bernstein. But along these milestones come problems, very grown-up problems. Wally has lost his job at Tyler Toys. Jan and Philip's marriage is quietly collapsing, with Philip preparing to move out. Peter is dating his boss Valerie, actress Carol Houston, and struggling with his confidence and masculinity. Bobby has secretly dropped out of grad school to pursue a risky career as a race car driver. And Cindy, about to graduate college, resents the assumption that she'll abandon her own plans to come home for Christmas. Each family member hides their struggles to preserve the illusion of holiday cheer. Adding to the emotional weight, Alice returns with bad news of her own. Sam the butcher has left her for a younger woman. The film weaves an ambitious, multi-threaded structure, alternating between Mike's professional storyline, where his insistence on exceeding construction safety codes raises red flags with one of Carol's real estate clients, and each of the kids' personal crises as they struggle to make it home for the holidays. It's an A-plot, B-plot and C through G-plot situation. But as always in Bradyland, there's very little that can't be softened by parental advice and a slice of Alice's homemade pie. In the end, everyone makes it home. Secrets are revealed, misunderstandings resolved, and Peter and Valerie even get engaged. But we get more. The climax is a deliberate and emotional callback to 1969. Mike responds to a construction emergency and becomes trapped in a collapsed building, the same one Carol's real estate client had cut corners on. A crowd gathers. Cindy reminds Carol of the Christmas long ago when belief restored her voice. Carol begins softly singing, "O Come All Ye Faithful," eventually leading the entire crowd in song. Mike hears it from beneath the rubble and emerges. Melodramatic, perhaps, but it's also unmistakably Brady. The story concludes with a reheated Christmas dinner and one final surprise. Santa arrives, revealing himself to be Sam, apologetic and repentant, wrapping up all remaining loose ends with a literal gift-wrapped bow. A Very Brady Christmas aired just one day short of 19 years after The Voice of Christmas, December 18th, 1988, on CBS, and marked the first Brady reunion since The Brady Brides 7 years earlier. Continuity from that series was respected, with Jerry Hauser returning as Wally Logan and Ron Koolman as Philip Covington III. Even the recreated sets make a reappearance, now visually updated with whites and pastels replacing wood and earth tones, and bamboo coverings on the kitchen cabinets. The telefilm was a massive success, becoming the second highest rated TV movie of the season, with an astonishing 39 share. Nearly 40% of American TV households watching the same program at the same time. That kind of number is almost unimaginable today. Much of what worked stemmed from deliberate callbacks. Written once again by Sherwood Schwartz and Lloyd J. Schwartz, the film mirrors the original Christmas episode in structure and theme. The sleepless night sequence, with adult kids awake, anxious, and eating Alice's pies, directly echoes The Voice of Christmas. And the finale reclaims the emotional core. Carol's voice, raised in song, inspiring hope during a family crisis. What didn't work? Sam's Dear Alice letter, packed with meat-themed sexual double entendres, felt jarringly out of tone, a leftover from the Brady Brides era that clashed with the otherwise sincere mood. Which brings us to the recastings. Though he was still around, Alan Melvin did not return as Sam, with the role filled instead by Louis Arquette, mostly hidden behind a Santa beard. But Cindy's absence was far more noticeable. In early 1989, an episode of NBC family sitcom Day by Day, produced by Paramount Television, featuring a Brady dream sequence, raised eyebrows when Susan Olsen was absent yet again. In the episode, teenage Ross, Christopher Daniel Barnes, faces a personal dilemma and receives guidance via a dream where he envisions himself as Chuck Brady, a sly reference to a missing Happy Days character, waking up in the Brady house. Florence Henderson, Robert Reed, Ann B. Davis, Christopher Knight, Mike Lookinland, and a very pregnant Maureen McCormick all appear. Among the actors not appearing were Barry Williams, Eve Plum, and Susan Olsen. When they replayed the original Brady intro segment, even Susan's photo in the Brady grid was replaced with some other child actor for seemingly no reason. Rumors began to spread, and people wrote into newspaper columns, wondering if Olsen had died. She soon addressed this directly. "I'm not dead." Although NBC reportedly told the press Olsen asked that her image not be used, She clarified that she had never been contacted about using her image in the day-by-day episode, nor was she even asked to appear. As for A Very Brady Christmas, Olsen revealed that while she was indeed on her honeymoon, the real issue was money. Producers only needed to deliver 5 of the 6 Brady kids to greenlight the movie, and considered Olsen to be the most expendable. Unwilling to accept the much lower pay they were offering, Olsen chose not to rearrange her plans. But she wasn't done with the Bradys just yet. Because of the overwhelming success of A Very Brady Christmas, CBS also decided the Bradys weren't done yet, setting the stage for one last revival that would test just how far nostalgia could stretch. That final effort debuted on February 9th, 1990, The Bradys. This marked the 3rd canonical scripted reunion of the original Brady Bunch cast, following the Brady Brides on NBC and A Very Brady Christmas on CBS. Ignoring the animated series and variety show detours, this was intended to be the next true chapter in the Brady story. The enormous success of A Very Brady Christmas initially led Sherwood Schwartz to conceive of 2 follow-up holiday TV movies. Bobby's auto racing career would have been the centerpiece of a Memorial Day movie, where he would race in the Indianapolis 500, while Mike running for city council would air adjacent to Election Day. But buoyed by ratings optimism, the network instead pushed Schwartz to expand the concept into a 1-hour, family-friendly dramedy series, very much in the mold of 30-something. Almost the entire original cast returned, with one notable exception. Having just given birth, Maureen McCormick could not commit to a weekly series, and thus did not reprise her role as Marcia. She was replaced by Leah Ayres, a recasting that was immediately apparent to viewers. Still, continuity was otherwise preserved. Jerry Hauser returned as Wally Logan, Ron Kuhlman as Philip Covington III, Karen Richmond as Greg's wife Nora, and Jacqueline Bernstein as Marcia and Wally's daughter Jessica. In his first television role, Jonathan Taylor Thomas replaced Zachary Bostrom as Greg and Nora's son Kevin. CBS re-aired A Very Brady Christmas on December 22, 1989, using it as a promotional tool for the upcoming new show, which wasted no time signaling its tonal shift. The series led with its most tragic storyline, Bobby suffering a racing accident that leaves him paraplegic, requiring the Brady home to be modified for wheelchair access. In the middle of this, Wally has once again lost his job and moves his family into the Brady house. Meanwhile, Peter quits his job, ends his engagement with Valerie, now played by Mary Carteret, and becomes something of a playboy. From there, we saw Mike Brady launch a political career as a city councilman, Peter entering a deeply uncomfortable relationship with the daughter of Mike's political rival, Jen and Philip struggle with infertility, Cindy entering a relationship with her radio station boss, and the storyline that would define the show's reputation, Marcia's sudden one-episode battle with alcoholism. While some of these arcs were clearly well-intentioned, the Bradys really struggled to balance drama and familiarity. The decision to include a laugh track, despite the show's heavy subject matter, only deepened the tonal confusion. Notably, some rerun versions remove the laugh track entirely, and the series plays far better without it. One additional oddity was that the show went through 3 iterations of the theme music. The first one, played earlier, a remix with electric guitar, and the third with new lyrics sung by Florence Henderson, used on some of the TV movie packages but not others, but in the interests of completeness, must be included here.
Here's the story of the family Brady, a mom and dad with all their children grown. kids were small, their problems all were smaller. As they changed, so did their point of view. The world has taken on a larger meaning since the family grew. The Bradys, oh, the Bradys, that's how the Brady Bunch became the Bradys.
There were, of course, brighter moments on the show. Bobby adjusts to his new life and marries his college girlfriend. Jan and Philip adopt a Korean orphan girl. One well-remembered storyline has the family literally saving the Brady house from demolition by physically moving it to a new location. In another, Marcia, Nora, and Bobby's now wife Tracy, played by MTV VJ Martha Quinn, open a catering business together. But critics, and many viewers, were unconvinced. The show was derisively nicknamed Brady Something, and even those involved reportedly recognized the miscalculation. After just 6 episodes, CBS realized the show wasn't working and put it on hiatus, with plans to resume later in the year, possibly at a later time slot. This never happened, and by the time of the May upfronts, the show had been canceled with little fanfare. One final script, never produced, would have taken the drama even further. In the story, Mike Brady dies in a helicopter accident while inspecting a wildfire in his position as city councilman. Carol sings at his funeral. Jan finally becomes pregnant. Cindy gets engaged. Peter assumes Mike's vacant city council seat, and the mobile trauma unit that he helped build would have been named after Mike. That script, written by Lloyd Schwartz, exists, but the episode was never filmed. Ironically, the 6 one-hour episodes of The Bradys were later repackaged into 3 TV movies: The Brady 500, The Bradys on the Move, and Big Kids, Big Problems, essentially returning the project to its original intended format. These versions aired extensively on cable throughout the 1990s, many times in marathon counter-programming blocks. Notably, these are missing the laugh track and are generally regarded as the superior presentation. And with that, the original Brady narrative quietly came to an end. Although the original Brady continuity effectively ended in 1990, public fascination with the Bradys didn't fade. If anything, it intensified as the 1990s got underway. Cable TV marathons kept the series in constant rotation, while Barry Williams' candid autobiography, Growing Up Brady, I Was a Teenage Greg, reignited interest in the people behind the characters. In 1993, ABC leaned fully into the phenomenon with Brady Mania, A Very Brady Special, celebrating the show's legacy and its enduring hold on popular culture. Paramount, sensing there was still plenty of mileage left in the franchise, took a very different approach. The Brady Bunch movie arrived in theaters as a broad satire, reimagining the family as blissfully stuck in the 1970s characters, navigating a very different 1990s world. The film performed strongly at the box office, though critical reaction and fan opinion was sharply divided. Love it or hate it, the movie was successful enough to spawn 2 sequels, the latter of which went straight to television. In 2000, NBC added Growing Up Brady, a dramatized TV movie based on Barry Williams' book, further cementing the show's place in television mythology. As the years passed, however, the inevitable losses began. Robert Reed died in May 1992, just over 2 years after the Bradys left the air. He was only 59. Ann B. Davis followed in 2014 at the age of 88, and Florence Henderson passed away in 2016 at 82. With their deaths, the era of the original Brady parents came to a close. Yet the actors playing the Brady children remain very much a part of the conversation.
Here's the story of a TV family who we all thought lived inside this famous home. But the real house we all remember was not at all as shown. So we bought the place and brought back all the Bradys who know every room and corner in and out. And we paired them with the HGTV family. That's the way we all remade the Brady house. The Brady house. The Brady house. That's the way we remade the Brady house.
In 2019, they reunited for A Very Brady Renovation on HGTV, finally stepping inside what may be the most famous house in the world. The real house on Dilling Street in North Hollywood, long used only for exterior shots. The interior, of course, bore no resemblance to the iconic soundstage layout audiences remembered. The renovation painstakingly corrected that, even adding a second story to the home. Remarkably, it marked the first time any of the cast had ever been inside the house itself. The legacy continues in conversation as well. Barry Williams and Christopher Knight have spent the last few years revisiting the series on their podcast, The Real Brady Bros, dissecting episodes and sharing behind-the-scenes memories. With appearances from Mike Lookenland, Eve Plum, and Susan Olsen, the show has surfaced new stories and perspectives for nearly 250 episodes. There was even talk of yet another revival. In 2022, a new untitled Brady project for CBS entered development, intending to pick up with the family more than 30 years after the Bradys. According to Susan Olsen, members of the original cast were actively involved for nearly a year, working with a showrunner and producer to reimagine the characters for a modern world. The proposed series would have tackled contemporary issues head-on, presenting the Brady family as politically and socially diverse, Greg as a Reagan Republican, Jan as a moderate liberal, Cindy as a libertarian podcaster, with storylines involving interracial marriage and even a transgender child. Ultimately, the project stalled. Olsen later stated that concerns over her social media posts became a sticking point during network vetting, and development simply dissolved. In 2024, she publicly discussed the entire experience in an interview, closing the door, at least for now, on another official Brady revival. For all the misfires, tonally off, and satirical reinventions, as it approaches its 55th anniversary, the Brady Bunch endures. It survives not merely as comfort television or a collection of tidy life lessons, but because it remains emotionally accessible. Like Ross Harper on Day by Day, many of us recognize ourselves somewhere within the Brady household. Some identify with the confident older sibling who seems to have everything fall into place. Others see themselves in the middle children, forever negotiating identity and insecurity. There are those who connect with the impulsive youngest son, still carrying childhood anxieties, or the wide-eyed, innocent youngest daughter whose faith insists that things will work out in the end. But as time passes, it really is time to change, to rearrange who you are into what you're going to be. The characters we once watched from the outside slowly begin to mirror our own lives. We start by seeing ourselves in the kids, and before we realize it, we recognize ourselves in the parents. Trying to hold families together, offering reassurance even when we don't have all the answers. Because real-life problems don't resolve in 22 minutes. The Bradys also remind us of something quieter and more enduring, that empathy and patience matter. And even imperfect families can grow stronger simply by choosing to show up for one another. That, perhaps, is why the Bradys remain. Still familiar, still comforting, and still worth revisiting. Forgotten TV is brought to you by executive producers Joshua Driscoll, Doc Pinko, K.L. Young, Kenny Siegel, Tony Cook, James Bellinger, and new executive producer Leland Duggar. With producers Julio Capa, Ron Sorrell, Trevor Pearson, Tim Yabo, and Lee Goldberg. And of course, thanks to all who support at the $1 to $3 levels on Patreon. Be sure to check out the Forgotten TV merch store at Fourth Wall, link in the show notes. Also, give a listen to new promotional partner Q106.5.
Discover the legendary Q106.5 in your car, on your smart speaker, on your phone. Browse to Q1065.com. 80s, 90s. This is a radio station with a vibe. Download our app or listen online. Search at Q1065 Radio on social media. The Q is your favorite radio station. Discover Q106.5 and hear the 80s and 90s hits on the radio station with personality. Q106.5.
Forgotten TV is not affiliated with or authorized by CBS, Paramount Television, or any production company or network involved in the making of any TV show, film, or album mentioned in this podcast. Links to Amazon are affiliate, and as an Amazon associate, Forgotten TV earns royalties from qualifying purchases made. All characters, films, and series mentioned are the property of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended. Audio clips included are for the purposes of historical context, review, commentary, and criticism only, and are not intended to infringe. Additional audio used under license by Epidemic Sound. If you need music for your podcast or YouTube channel, check out Epidemic Sound, link in the show notes. This podcast is copyright 2025 Forgotten TV Media. The views and opinions expressed by guests or quoted sources are their own and may not reflect the opinion of Forgotten TV Media, its patrons, or any future sponsors. This podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. Information presented is based on a combination of interviews, period news media, books and magazine articles, and high-quality online sources. While reasonable effort has been made to vet the information presented, Forgotten TV Media cannot guarantee the accuracy of every detail included and makes no representations or warranties for the content in this podcast and cannot be held liable for errors or omissions. And I'd like to thank the following YouTube channels for making some of that audio possible. Brady Fan 1, Vintage Entertainment, Retro Alexander, Steven, Amazon MGM Studios, A Fusco Classic TV, The Brady Bunch, Chuck D's all-new Classic TV Clubhouse, HD TV Show Intros, Sid and Marty Krofft Pictures, Random Rocket Ship Vintage, David Gideon, Primetime Suds, Sancho Panza, The Brady Bunch Topic, Sci-Fi Zone, and a special thanks to Max Eck. Sources of quotes and background information came from the following: The History of the Brady Bunch, presented at the Brady World website. Sherwood Schwartz, the med school reject who created Gilligan's Island, from Tablet Magazine. The Sherwood Schwartz Interview, from TV Party. The Television Academy Foundation Interviews. Bradypedia, the complete reference guide to television's The Brady Bunch, by Erica Wohick. Episodes from the Real Brady Bros podcast, as well as several clipped articles available at newspapers.com. Thank you for listening. Be sure and bookmark Forgotten.tv for all content and links. I am your writer, producer, and host, Chris Cooling, and this has been Forgotten TV.
Thanks so much for your time. Remember our time, Friday, January 14th. The Brady Bunch! See ya!
Hope they like it.